Hi, good evening. I want to welcome you tonight. You are live with us here at the Urban Chamber of Commerce of Volusia, Flagler County to our broadcast tonight, Talk Live. I'm honored tonight to have two special guests with us tonight to discuss the power of urban chambers within the urban marketplace. Our guest will be Mrs. Tarnisha Cliatt. She is the CEO and president of the Manasota Chamber of Commerce in there near Sarasota, St. Pete area. And so we're grateful to have her on tonight. Mrs. Cliatt, we're happy to have you with us tonight. I look forward to hearing from you in just a moment. In addition to Mrs. Cliatt, we have with us tonight as our guest, Mr. Charles H. DeBow, the third. He is the Vice President and Program and Global Development of the National Black Chamber of Commerce. And so we are excited about these two that are visiting with us on tonight to talk with us about how urban chambers are developed and how we sustain them within Black community. Just for a moment, I want to introduce myself for those of you that may not know me. My name is Kenedy Jacobs. I am the founder of the local Volusia and Flagler County Urban Chamber of Commerce. We're excited about what's happening in the area and those who are gathering around this idea of expanding our reach and expanding a constituency of Black business owners and cultural business owners within our region. And so I'm excited tonight for you guys to be here. Before we get started tonight, there's just simply some highlights we'd like to show you of our last event. Mrs. Paula Reed was present as well, and also the founders and also organizers of the African American Leadership Council that has been formed here with Judge Hubert Grimes and Mrs. Daisy Grimes. And so we're excited about these partners within the community and what we're looking forward to do together. Mrs. Tarnisha Cliatt, I want to say good evening to you, and I hope you're doing well today. How are you today? Are you able to hear?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I was saying good evening, and how are you? We're happy to have you with us today. And tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you are the CEO and president of the Manasota Chamber of Commerce, but I want you to just share a little bit about what you do and where you're from and how did you get started with the Manasota Chamber of Commerce.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pastor Jacobs, for having me.
As you mentioned, I am the president of the Manasota Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm originally from Tampa, born and raised between Tampa and Manatee County, and have a daughter, two daughters actually, a 24-year-old and a 10-year-old, and a grandson. So as far as who I am, I'm a person that just enjoys family, enjoys serving our community, as well as being a part of the conversation that we have here with growing the Black community as it relates to the Black diaspora.
Well, listen, I definitely want to commend you and the work you're doing. I've been able to follow you probably over a year and a half. You and I have had dialogue and consultation as well, but your area has been phenomenal. And to be able to get business owners and those who are bought into what you're doing there in your area. So there's a few questions I wanted to begin with you, if that's okay this evening. I can ask a few questions to you. The first question I would like to direct to you is what were your motivations to start a Black Chamber of Commerce? Tell me what motivated you to walk in the direction that you walked in.
Starting off, I have always had the entrepreneur spirit centered around me. My grandmother, my great-great-grandmother was a midwife, as well as owned rental properties. So therefore, it was always displayed throughout our family, the importance of entrepreneurship and having to not really work for anyone else, but having the opportunity to create your own wealth and to have that personal time that we talk about all the time. Having to buy back your time and build someone else's business is not so cohesive for a family. So as it relates to that, and that was just passed down through generation, as I mentioned, my great-great-grandmother and then my grandmother herself, both paternal and maternal grandmothers were entrepreneurs themselves. So I was always at the helm of an entrepreneur. And women per se, that taught us how to take care of the family, but also provide for a family and do it where you can have the flexibility of your time and to have wealth as it relates to the the income to be more fluid about how you do that. So a little bit about how I got started. I actually was an educator for 20 years actually. And during the time of every Black America family would tell a child, get your education, because if once you get your education, right, they can't take that away from you. Understanding that, went and got my degree and got into education. But not only did I do that, I went and got my master's, and I switched from being a teacher to being in a different role, not understanding that that started my seniority date over. So during the housing market in the 2000 and about 2005, 2009 frame, the economy saw a downwards turn. And not only did the economy, it affected the school district. And I was one of the ones that got laid off. Prior to that, I started my own Mary Kay business and trying to interact with people that look like me, but to create beauty as it relates to a woman. And after I started that business, got laid off, I understood that I needed to capitalize on my own income. And it was there where I started getting unemployment, had to get on welfare in order to support my family. I knew that I didn't want to stay in that place. So I took what I knew, and that was Mary Kay and the model that the Mary Kay facet had shown me, how to create my own wealth and how to produce for my family. I then had to connect with faces that looked like me. And in the area that I'm in Manatee and Sarasota County, I didn't see that. And so we created an entrepreneurs club, got with like-minded individuals. We created an entrepreneurs club. We fastly grew out of that entrepreneur spirit. We contacted Charles DeBow, who's here with us today. And we said, we kind of feel that we're doing something that probably simulates to a chamber of commerce, but we're not really sure. He actually picked up on the first call and returned my call and email. As you know, Pastor Jacobs, I am one, if I get one no, I'm going to go down another road. So he returned that call and he gave me step-by-step tools of how to create a successful Black Chamber of Commerce. We did so in 2015. We created the Manatee County Black Chamber of Commerce. It was the first that had been done in our area. We understood that we were going to have some challenges because the population of the African American community was at a percentage that was the minority. So we had to be strategic about how we started. We kept it on the cuffs before we actually birthed the Manatee County Black Chamber of Commerce. But we understood that we had to have stakeholders at the forefront of this as well. So we pitched the idea to our stakeholders, got the green light from them, and we launched in 2015 the Manatee County Black Chamber of Commerce, obviously starting with 0 members. We fastly grew to over 100 members. Through that, that elevation that you would speak of, the Manatee County, we knew we had to enlarge our territory. And understanding the vision, writing the vision and making it plain, we had Sarasota in mind when we started the Manatee County Black Chamber of Commerce. So we quickly understood that 100 members, Sarasota was definitely on our radar. So we expanded in 2017 to the Manasota Black Chamber of Commerce, and that's where we are today. And again, we're just so grateful for the opportunity to be at the helm of the National Black Chamber of Commerce, to lean on them as support because they've been in business since the 1990s, 1994, if I'm not mistaken. So whenever that you're doing something, you want to have an umbrella, you want to have a covering, if you will, that can support you on every facet of the way when you're trying to develop and cultivate that whatever program that you're unveiling. Thank you.
And I want you to, you've definitely given us insight because, as you know, I reached out even with you probably over 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And to start any process like this, the mentorship of that process is so necessary. And so we did research. There were chambers in Tallahassee, you guys in Manasota, obviously other chambers across the country. We were trying to find out the need in our area for a Black Chamber of Commerce. And so you shared with us just now the process of what you went through and how you were able to accomplish what you did. But I have one additional question for you that I'm going to go to Mr. DeBow, is that I want to ask you, how did you educate the urban community about the value of what Black chambers mean to a community and its constituency? So how did you educate the community as it relates to that?
Well, how I approached it, again, having a covering, which was the National Black Chamber of Commerce, getting the blueprint from them and understanding not many Black people know what a Chamber of Commerce really does. So it really had to take multiple education sessions to understand the value of what we added, what we brought to a member. So that was something that we knew we had to do from day one. We had to have education at the forefront. We host a third Thursday, every third Thursday, every month, and it's tied through education, with education in mind, whether it be about procurement opportunities, whether it be about financial resources of how to sustain a Black or sustain a business. We also offer to our members opportunities to be at the forefront of legislative bills and understanding how to influence those on that level. We advocate on behalf on a local and then a state level, and in understanding when you are at the table, and if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, if you will, at the every forefront with that in your mind. That is something that we have to always counteract. Along with, we have our traditional chamber. Here's what has always been at the forefront. Why do we need a Black Chamber of Commerce? Well, when I look at a traditional Chamber of Commerce, I go to the board and I go on their website, and it doesn't reflect an African American. If it doesn't reflect women, if it doesn't connect with the demographics of the community in which they reside in, it's not inclusive. So what we bring is that inclusivity to any community, and understanding that when we add value on that level to our people that no traditional chamber can understand and identify with. And that's the difference between a local chamber and then an African American Black Chamber of Commerce.
I love that explanation. I want to thank you so much, Tarnisha, for starting us out this evening and sharing that valuable information. And also, I want to thank you for our next guest that we were going to now turn to our focus to Mr. DeBow III. I want to say thank you for accepting our invitation to come on tonight, and a conversation about chambers, and especially urban and Black chambers, is very necessary. I think Mrs. Tarnisha shared some of my sentiments that as I've been engaging this process here in Volusia and Flagler County, that question that you just shared have been asked of me in every meeting. The meeting sometimes starts off, Kenedy, why an urban chamber? So Mr. DeBow, I'm going to put that in your hands today. I want to start out with you today to say, how can you explain to those of us why the urban chamber? Why is that necessary? Why do we need that? And what does it do for the Black community as well?
Every community has its own source for support, for advocacy, for communication. And it is extremely important that you have somewhere to go. And just as my dear sister and friend, Tarnisha, she was talking about something about, okay, so where would you go? And what would you do?
Yes.
And if you go to a chamber of commerce, you will quickly understand the natural order, the pecking order. And with some logic, it's like, who are the members who are paying the bigger money and what do they do? So essentially, our evolution as the National Black Chamber of Commerce was based on the principles and the teaching of Booker T. Washington. And it really originated in the economic evolution that our culture and our country has been through of self-empowerment. we're on a mission of economic empowerment through entrepreneurial pursuits throughout the diaspora. And what that actually means is self-empowerment and getting off welfare or not having to depend on anyone. So when you talk about it, you also got to understand too, that there's a reason that there's a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Exactly.
There's a Pan-Asian Chamber of Commerce. You, depending on what city you're in, there's Chinese. And this is the new one that's really, really become very strong, is the LGBTQ community has a Chamber of Commerce. And they have done a great job of expressing the power of the dollar spend to marketing and promoting and offering services and welcoming customers that they represent in their constituency. So the why a Black Chamber is based and rooted in education and economic development, but it's a hard argument because what do we call the majority chamber? They don't have the word white in there, but it is a white chamber, and it is very pro-union, and it is very tilted towards the larger corporations that are within that community. So when a contract goes out, that group is not going to be going down to the state capitol and saying, on the books here, you say that you're going to offer 7% of your contracts to minority businesses. And now minority includes gay people, it includes women, it includes all that, but they won't even have 7%. They'll be doing good if they got 0.5%. Someone has to be there to speak up or to at least raise your hand and say, well, wait a minute, there are laws, there are guidelines, there are things on the book that we're not adhering to, we're not representing. And then on the other hand, how many people live in your community that are representing these various minority groups?
And Mr. DeBow, I wanted to just chime in there that you're exactly right, representation. I've been using a language called cultural competence. In other words, is that someone asked me, say, Kenedy, why are we looking from a Black or urban perspective? One thing that Howard University put into us as students is that we're looking through the lens of our culture. But if we never value our culture, we're looking from a total different lens from maybe white community, Hispanic community, Asian community. Our lens matter, and we must value culture, and that gives us direction. And so that leads me to this next question I want to ask to you. What do you think is—
Pastor Jacobs, before I would like to interject on that one.
Go right
The
ahead.
one thing how I've gone around the area and have had an opportunity to speak to equity, diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion. And equity actually stands out more than anything to me in all of that. Okay. Equity is allowing someone to level the playing field and giving them the opportunity. They arise to the occasion, and then they're able to perform at a level in order to compete. We are not asking for a handout. We're asking for a hand up. We're asking that the level playing field be leveled so that we can come to the table and be at the same level as our counterparts, so that when we arrive ourselves, we're going to do the work. We have to come and we have to do the work in order to arrive. So that's how I explain it to our counterparts. We're asking for a hand up. I mean, not a hand out, but a hand up, and just leveling that playing field in order for us to get the opportunity. Oftentimes the procurement are given to the good old boys. They're not given to the ones that have the 3 years of tax returns or the audited tax returns. We don't have the opportunity to do the audited tax returns. We're not given generational businesses. So we're starting from the ground in order to produce. So therefore, when you're talking about equity, when we're talking about diversity, and we're talking about inclusion, that's the bottom line of what we're representing. We need the opportunity to have the leveling of the playing field. Give me any job opportunity. I just want Kenedy to say to me, Tarnisha is a good person, a good fit for your job. Give her an opportunity to present. Once I present, it's up to me to perform. It's up to me to present well and articulate my capabilities in order for me to land that job. That's all we're asking.
I appreciate that. Access as well. That's what that means, access and leveling the playing field. And I want to, again, back to you, Mr. DeBow, and thank Tarnisha for those comments, is that I want to ask you, what do you see the potential that we have as urban business owners and the economic impact that we can make as an urban chamber, as a Black chamber, in whatever region or whatever district? What is the potential impact that we make in the economic landscape?
Well, that's a great question that a lot of people assume they understand it, but we use an example of cultural spend. You know, there's like, what's the Black dollar? Well, there's a study that was done that examined communities to understand how did it empower its own economic. It's like turbocharging or recycling your own economy. And so the number one economy was the Jewish culture. And it was measured that a dollar could circulate 17 times within that community of neighborhood businesses or people that you do business with. $1 that I went to this store, bought some food. They took that store, went and paid a farmer or a supplier, or they went to carpenter, or any number of different ways. It circulates 17 times. Right. In the Asian community, I think it's like 15 or so. And unfortunately, the lowest number on the whole totem pole was the Black community, which I believe was less than $6 on that spend. So that's one thing. Educating your children, having the ability to own a home, to increase your credibility, to command in a challenging environment, is access to capital. You know, whether it's for your business or whether it's something that you're aspiring to. And it's a difference that people that are out here forced, there's a lot of people that are hungry because they don't have money to buy food and don't regularly. There's a lot of broken homes because of financial driven issues. The people out here that on this Black on Black crime or carjackings or any of these number of things of which I'm hearing numbers of different cultural challenges going on between there and Jacksonville.
Yes. I'm
familiar with Daytona, and I really salute you on not only as being a HU grad alumni, as if I understood what you said.
Yes, sir.
But you got Bethune-Cookman right there.
Yes, and I'm alumni of Bethune-Cookman as well.
It is, you know, too many years, society at large, not only Black folks, but society at large, marginalized HBCUs. We did not capitalize on the resource that it provides, and not only just from an academic straight up standpoint, but from a cultural development standpoint.
Yes, sir. That
you can become an adult, you can become and feel confident in it. And as opposed to having to go to where you're in a minute minority, a very small group, and having to go against all sorts of things that you don't understand about the grades or the scholarships or the accesses and the resources and the opportunities, as well as job recruitment and placement of what you come out with and how you go through it. So you're in a key position. We salute you for having the initiative, and maybe some might say the audacity, to start an economic development vehicle for Black people.
Thank you, Mr. DeBow. And listen, I want to know that it's agencies like you, persons like Ms. Tarnisha, that definitely helped me to say, stick to it. Don't walk away from it, but stick to it. I want to ask you something that's going to be a tough question. I've already found out in the early goings of establishing and organizing that even though we are a Black chamber, urban chamber, focusing on bringing equity, advocating for expansion of what we call global business from the local community to reach global business, I found out it is necessary for me, in my case, is to build bridges. I told one of the constituents of many different cultural groups is that as the urban chamber, we must not be under a bush. We must be open and transparent, but more importantly, like Tarnisha said, that we want to be at the table. So building relationships is what I want to ask to you, to be intentional how we build relationships and building on this bridge. So I want to ask you, Mr. DeBow, what do you think is a strategic and a successful way of building meaningful relationships, holding stakeholders accountable to the cause, to the value of what we bring in the economic arena? And how do we do that? And being sincere in what we do, and being, watch this, owning our culture, owning who we are, owning our direction as a culture of people.
You know, it's a process, and it starts right there at home or right in your heart and where you are and how you represent yourself, and how do you translate value? How do you transfer value? How to extend it? Becoming a credible entity. And to be honest with you, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be wanting, if you give them a nickel, they want to take it and bite it and see if it's real. They're going to try and test you. And at some point in time, somebody that's not so happy or excited that you're making progress and doing well, they're going to want to check and see, did you file your taxes? Are you registered? They're going to go there and look it up and try to say, because the more you have these basic fundamental things, the more solid your foundation is. The more solid your foundation is, the more you can step up and speak up and go and seek it. Particularly here, this might be a little bit of a surprise, but I was in Daytona probably maybe about 5 years or so ago, and I had a meeting with the NASCAR folks, and they had a strong interest in diversity, and they were talking about it, and they had some budgets and some different things they were doing. And I was a little surprised, I was a lot surprised, that the people in there making the decisions and up at the top of the management really were open to some good dialogue. And they want to be good citizens, good members of the community. You have one of probably the top tourist destinations. And even though, and I believe there's some Black tourism elements there as well, although all we hear about is, you know, the college thing and bike week and those kinds of things that were going on. So you have a lot of resources to tap into.
Yes.
And that's a brand, that's a asset for you. So one of the topics or the things that we would always have as part of an orientation for a new chamber is, first of all, your infrastructure, how you're structured, how you're set up. The second thing you did, you were very smart and astute when you contacted Tarnisha. She's one of the top chambers in America. And as you know, the T is for tenacious. She's relentless. And to hear about her background as an entrepreneur and all these things, when I first met her, I said, boy, that's a dynamic woman there. And to see how she's grown from one area, the value perception, the tangibility of the value grew them into another city, another market, another area, to where she can go anywhere in this country and offer value and call upon her experiences. But at the same time, we're sending businesses down there to you from wherever they may be and from whatever country they may be coming from. So the value can come, and that is when you start getting the corporations to say, we want to support you too, because if you go to their website, you'll see everybody else they're supporting.
Exactly.
And the default, or when you abstain, is, oh, what you got against us? You know, and it may not be you that's saying it. You know, we're talking about something too that Tarnisha mentioned, and this is, I hate to say it like this, a little bit of the flavor of the moment, and that's all this talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, workforce development.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's trying to talk it, but if you look it up in a dictionary, there's no definition there. So it's all over the board as to who's doing what. So we're here to help offer, not only we have some solutions, but we want to work with you to understand what that interpretation, that definition may be to you. So I salute you, but we're here to work with you.
And listen, I'm grateful for that. And we are looking for that relationship. As a matter of fact, we need that relationship right now. There's some great things happening immediately. You mentioned something earlier that I'm going to talk to you offline about, that you're going to be probably very excited to hear some things that are already transpiring. There's a last question that I want to present to you. I want to ask you about, as we are establishing, getting interest from stakeholders, getting interest from our community and the business owners. How do you see, what is the steps or necessary steps in order to begin to build capital, to build support, sustainability around chambers. And I want to say this is what I found out is that chambers cannot operate without money. And matter of fact, most of the work of the chamber requires money. You are now advocating for business owners. You're trying to find resources, put business owners in a better position. And what most Black businesses don't have, I found out already, is advertisement dollars, advertisement dollars. And so how do we, what I want to call compilation advertisement, that we can give advertisement to business owners who on their own could not have done it themselves. But we as an organization have now begun to give legs, to begin to give support and platforms that these businesses can be recognized and also known. And so I want to talk about that capital thing, fundraising capital for especially Black chambers in particular.
It's a business. This is a business. You have to file articles of incorporation. You got to get a tax ID, whether it's nonprofit, 501c3, C6, 504, whatever the case may be. It is, in fact, a business.
Yes, sir.
Revenue generation has to do with the marketplace itself and the nature, human nature, as well as the standards of it. So there's dynamic revenue streams. There's like corporate money, sponsorship money, partnering money. There's marketing type activities that you do on behalf, but you have to have an asset of where you begin to build your database. So emails, e-blasts, newsletters. And as you are able to, even if it's a, Tarnisha used to have a thing that you did where businesses could come in and do a little presentation or present and talk at, I remember I came to one of the fish place. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a shark, similar to a Shark Tank.
Yeah. Tell us what you did.
Simply what we did, we presented an opportunity to small businesses or individuals that had a concept that they wanted to pitch to funding sources in order to receive seed money to help them start up their businesses. We pitched ideas in a setting where we had individuals that were of certain industries, subject matter experts, if you will, to allow the pitch to be given to those subject matter experts. And also we had the funding sources of the individuals that were offered the seed in order to invest in those individuals that had the best pitch. So it's similar to a Shark Tank, and we titled it A Small Biz Talk.
But
and
that was just one event.
Correct.
That's one type of thing. I know another one that you did that was fantastic, but it had implications beyond it, and that was the fashion show.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even know if you call it Fashion Week. That thing got so big and so hot.
What we did on that level, that was encompasses in with our gala, our commemoration week. And we did, in fact, hold a week long of events. And we tailored it towards fashion industry entrepreneurs within the community, those individuals that were seamstress, that were looking to get their product out into visibility. And we provided them an opportunity to connect with people like Edwin Hall. And you know how great they've been on GQ magazine, and was definitely known in New York and has a large store right there in the DC area, in the DMV area, if you will. So we were able to not only tap into the fashion industry, not only do Shark Tank where we provided opportunities for seed money for individuals, but we wanted to be inclusive and provide opportunity for all dynamics of people in the community, whether it was a fashion industry or was it a person that wanted to start up a driving service.
You have had so many events. Pastor Williams, there was about 3 or 4 just right there quick that she talked about. So that was like on a certain level. Then there's the corporate relationships, and then there's national. I got a boatload, a website full of programs that will extend to you as a partner affiliate that we're looking to extend these programs into the communities. But as being an association with the Manasota Black Chamber of Commerce and yourself, you now have access to some things. You don't have to create it all. And we can even show you and help you develop and implement it, administrate it, and help you get some money to start to come in.
The one thing before we leave that conversation, wanted to just let you know that a week ago, we were in Tallahassee doing some advocacy work with Black Chamber of Commerce's from across the state of Florida. Want to bring attention to State Senate Bill 1520. And this House bill was entitled 6091. And we are hoping to have professional services specifically for the African-American business owner. As you know, small businesses may not have, especially startups, marketing dollars, as Chuck alluded to. When you're talking about having a website, having business cards, having a capability statement, those tangible items, it is a barrier for a lot of small businesses. And this bill, we're hoping to get pushed through in order to provide funding for a startup Black business. So I hope that the Urban Chamber of Commerce there in Volusia and Flagler County would support that as well.
Okay, so what I wanted to do, I wanted to, first of all, the information you both have shared today is extremely important and very valuable, definitely to us and our team. And as we are now trying to continue to go forward and to make progress, I wanted to make sure that establishing a relationship with those who are not only doing the work, but those of you who have already made the path, that not to recreate, we don't have to recreate it. We just need to follow the path. And I'm grateful that you guys are there. I'm grateful that you have put an example in front of us. And more importantly, that gives us motivation to know that it can be done, that our area can experience the growth and the change in which some of the areas have already experienced. And so I'm grateful for that. You guys have taken the time out today to share with us. I wanted to know, for those of you that may be watching, rather be live by Facebook, or those who are watching this evening, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to share, or questions that you wanted to ask, I wanted to allow Mr. DeBow and also Mrs. Cliatt to entertain one or two questions that we can share with you guys on today. So if there's anyone that wanted to put in the chat line, if you're watching live by Facebook, and there's a question that you have concerning the chamber, how it can impact our lives here in Volusia and Flagler County, or no matter where you are and you have chambers in your area. So let's hear from someone at this time, and we can begin to share whatever question that you might have. Now, in the meantime, there's a question probably that I have. And when you're building the team, one thing that I've noticed, and Ms. Tarnisha and also Mr. DeBow, is that trying to build that team and to keep vision in front of the team, and keeping vision going forward. And so as you're building vision, as you're trying to move, if you will, this cart forward, how do we build camaraderie, collaboration within our own team? We're looking to build collaboration in the community, but I'm finding out we have to also be very diligent to building that collaboration among our own teams. And so I wanted to know what you guys, how did you deal with that when you were building teams of different mindsets, different ideologies, different perspectives? Tell me, how do you deal with that as you're building the team?
You want to go first, Tarnisha?
I'll just start from a local level, if you will. For me and our Chamber of Commerce, we wanted to be intentional about the people that we brought to the table. That was number one. Obviously, we had to have like-minded, shared the same common goals. So we definitely wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page on that level. On top of, I believe in a spirit of discernment and understanding when you have different mindsets, different personalities, it always brings a good flavor, if you will, to the mix. So as long as I can leave at the end of the day and knowing that they're at the best interest of everybody's heart, it's the Manasota Black Chamber of Commerce, and then the interest of our community, I think we're rooted and grounded on that. The other thing that I would have to say was intentionality, but innovative. We had to have people that were innovative around us. If I think the same way that you think and that the Charles think, we can't bring a flavor that is different and mixes up everything. And I always say, and Charles probably can attest to this, I like a good gumbo. And in that gumbo, it has different flavors, it has different vegetables, has different meats, and all that brings together a good, wholesome blend of something elegantly to preserve and to serve to someone's tummy to edify the appetite. And so that's how I would have to explain when you're bringing people together, making sure that they mesh well, but at the end of the day, that the common goal is to serve someone and leave a great taste in someone's mouth. And that's the key, I believe, point, is leaving a great taste in someone's mouth so that we can all operate in the spirit of excellence.
That's a great analogy. Thank you so much. Mr. DeBow, go right ahead. I know you were going to add to that.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of a theoretical, philosophical type of answer. And the collaborative element begins in the win-win. You got to have motivation. And just on the simple, lowest, easiest hanging fruit. So let's say you've got CPAs, lawyers, website developers, all these people that are really going to be needed. So you are collaborating with them by just telling the rest of your community, or even like in this forum on the radio show, to be able to tell people, here's a member, he's a great guy, does a great business. And if you're a member of the chamber, you might get a discount, but you promoted him and you got something. And as well, maybe you get some discount on or pro bono services that the chamber needs. But what we do is similar, but it's like on a corporate level. So if I'll give you an example, there is a ratings data company called Nielsen. You've heard of Nielsen ratings. They contacted us and they just want to be supportive to have some affinity to the Black community, but they feel they have value data that money can't buy on what Black consumers do, who's shopping at what business and where are they and when are they and what was going on and how, and they want to share and extend it, but ultimately they're growing their market base. They're putting it because advertisers want to know how to deal with Black consumers. That dollar we were talking about, that $6 versus a $17, oh, they know they can come get one of our dollars quick and fast. You know, and you see that through the community because they ain't got no problem coming with a 7-Eleven, and it won't be people that look like us. You know, we got that. So it's mutual win value proposition. That's really the beginning of it. We're so excited to work with you and so enthused to have an organization such as yours in a market as important as the Daytona Beach area.
Well, listen, I want to thank you both again, and I'm excited about it as well. And Mr. DeBow, Mrs. Tarnisha, I've asked Tarnisha about a year and a half ago if one of their chamber would serve as one of our consulting chambers in the state. And so she's agreed to help mentor persons like myself and prayerfully that we can move forward. And also, Mr. DeBow, from a national level, you know for sure, we know it's necessary for us to have that input and dialogue. And more importantly, like you said, find out the pathway, making sure that we can align common core values that can align us to what the whole scene, what that looks like nationally as well. So is there any final comments that either one of you may have tonight? But I want to sincerely, from the Urban Chamber of Volusia and Flagler County, thank the both of you for making this time available to us, sharing with our constituency, our community, but more importantly, sharing with me. I'm in a place and space that I think that we can grow here in Volusia County. I think that the possibilities are unlimited if we can just simply put the minds together and find the right pathway. And so I want to leave final remarks to you all, and we'll close our Talk Live show on today.
I would just like to say back to that, how do we have the value? I believe people want to be held accountable. So when we're going to talk to those corporations and the municipalities, understanding the value that, or the credibility that we add along with the value is holding them accountable. People really need to be held accountable, and they want to be held accountable. So again, when I'm coming into a municipality and I'm talking to them about minority participation as it relates to procurement opportunities for our members, and telling them that I need to be on your distribution list when bids are coming out, I need to understand, I need to be able to do a public records request to understand who are you doing business with, so that the disparity study is going to be key. So understanding the language and the value that we provide, and saying, honestly, we're here to be a partner with you, and understanding that this is going to be good for all of the community, and understanding that when we are doing this together, we're always better together. And that would be my only last thing that I would like to leave with you guys, is to make sure that you're asking the difficult questions, but also being there to pull up your sleeve to say, we're going to be in this the long haul.
Yes.
We're going to ask for the procurement opportunities, but we have to have members in the wing that have been vetted and that can do the work, so that we can push the goal of the economy for all people, and not only for just our counterparts, but for African Americans and for all that support the vision of the African American and Black diaspora. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Cliatt. I appreciate it so much. Mr. DeBow, did you have any final remarks?
I want to just say thank you and salute and applaud, but I'm going to commit all of our federation and network, and that we hope to be having like a regional meeting in Florida, but I want to come by and meet you and see you and speak with your leadership as well as any of your members, and maybe we can find some opportunities to do some things and help you pick it up. I mean, move forward at whatever pace you decide, but just by that lifting hand, that helping hand that lifts you up, you're going to be lifted up, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's very encouraging, Dr. DeBow. Thank you both for being with us again today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been in dialogue today on Talk Live for the Urban Chamber of Commerce of Volusia, Flagler County. Mrs. Tarnisha Cliatt from the Manatee and Sarasota County Urban Chamber of Commerce, and also from the national organization, Mr. Charles DeBow III. And I'm so grateful today that you both have come on. You have made our efforts worthwhile, because today I have grown, I've gained, I've gleaned. And so today I want to say thank you. So to our audience today, again, you have been listening to Talk Live with the Urban Chamber of Commerce of Volusia, Flagler County. We look forward to your businesses. We look forward to working along with you in this community to make a better community. So listen, thank you so much. And remember, we're building the urban marketplace. Help us to do that in Volusia, Flagler County.